Okay. Just a second, yeah. So I can actually give you all an insight on what all a quality assurance professional does, or what are the opportunities that you can look for in quality assurance after you inform. What are the qualifications you might actually need for getting a job in a quality assurance team in any company. So I can actually talk about all this, which I hope can be of help to you.
Definitely.
And yeah, so starting off, like usually when we are in our graduation or post graduation, we usually have we don't understand the terms very clearly. Okay, so what happens is, when I was in my graduation, I didn't know the clear difference between quality assurance and quality control. It often happens, right? We think that quality assurance and quality control is one and the same. It is not. One can have a career only in quality control, and quality assurance like is completely different path. Okay, so I'll start off by explaining what exactly quality assurance is and what does a quality assurance professional does. Like, what are the jobs, the roles, the responsibilities of a QA professional in the pharma industry. So, just to start off, with the concept of QA, let me explain to you all students that when a company manufactures a drug product, what happens is there should be somebody, a professional, an expert, or a personnel who assures that the drug product that is being manufactured by the company is safe for use of the patients. Okay, it should not have any adverse effect on the patients, or it should not cause any damage to the health of the patient. So which basically means that the drug product which is being manufactured by the company, it should produce the desired therapeutic efficacy in the patients, and it should be safe for use. So who gives this assurity? It is the quality assurance team or the quality assurance expert who gives this assurity that yes, this particular drug product can be marketed and it is safe for use of the patients. So when I say quality assurance now, basically it is a concept which revolves only around quality of a drug product. Okay, it can be at any stage. It can be at the R&D during the development of a drug product. It can be during the analysis of the drug product, during the production, that is during the manufacturing. Also the QA plays a very important role during the distribution also, like when the distribution of the finished product or the drug products which are ready for marketing happens. There also a quality assurance plays a very important role, who makes sure that the distribution happens in the right way. And the inspections, of course, the inspection is a very important part of the QA, which I will explain to you. So firstly, we need to understand that both QA and QC, that's quality assurance and quality control, both are, the key factors of quality management. Both put together will produce a quality management, a good quality management. So if I say QA can be considered as a concept which is built around how to manage the prevention of quality problems. Because generally, when the manufacturing of a drug happens, there are several problems which will come. It can happen at the first step, second step, or the last step of the manufacturing or the development. Okay, so what happens is, how can you prevent those problems from happening? Is what the QA expert will think. So basically, it is a concept which revolves only around the quality during the various stages of the development of the drug product. Okay, and one more thing is, one thing that if you want to become a QA expert, you should always keep in mind that each and everything should be documented. It should be recorded. Like, if you see something happening, you just cannot see and say, yeah, this process took place in the right way. No, nobody will go by words. Each and every small observation should be written on paper, or nowadays it is on software. So everything should be recorded. So that is one of the main thing that you have to keep in mind if you choose to be a quality assurance expert. So When I say quality control, now, like, so that you don't get confused between QA and QC, quality control basically deals with the analysis of the drug product. Like, for example, testing the various parameters during the development stage or during the manufacturing stage. Say, for example, it is the development of a tablet. Now, disintegration, dissolution, all these are the various parameters, or say, for example, physical parameters also, color, the appearance, etc. So, a quality control person will basically deal with all this physical and the chemical analysis of the drug product during the various stages of the development and manufacturing. Okay, so the quality assurance person does not actually go to the lab and he doesn't have to do the complete analysis and all. Just for you to not get confused between these two terms, I'm just giving a brief explanation on this. Okay, so next I will mm, one second. Okay, so now I'll just tell you, like, QA is involved in what all stages. Okay, so QA is involved in planning, system governance, and process of every phase of pharmaceutical business. QA professionals are trained in GMP, good manufacturing processes, which are current good manufacturing processes, or you can call it the good manufacturing processes, which help to ensure that the company remains compliant with all the regulations. QA is responsible for defining and performing process validation at each step. So process validation again is a very it is a very wide, basically there's an entire chapter on process validation, but in brief I can explain to you that each and every process that takes place, or the each and every process that is developed for the manufacturing of a drug product should be validated. That we validated means consistently, like one batch, two batches come out, three batches come out, or 100 batches come out. There should be consistency in the batches which are produced, which means that the process is validated. Okay, that is, even if you make 100 batches of that particular drug product, it will not be different. The first lot and the last lot should not be different. That means the process of the product, drug product development has been validated. Now, QA controls the designing, development, and distribution of the drug. Okay, in all stages, QA is involved. QA is responsible for determining root cause of issues. When I say root cause of issues, it basically means that, for example, it can be at R&D or manufacturing. Consider an example that during at R&D, for example. There is a development of a drug product happening, and at one particular stage there is some deviation that happens. Deviation means what? Deviation means if the pH of a drug product had to be 6.4, but you're not getting 6.4, you're getting it as 7.4. That means it is not as per the document. Something has gone wrong there. Okay, which means there is an issue there. Okay, there's an issue with the batch that you're developing, because it is not giving you the right pH. Or say the disintegration is, say, 20 seconds, but you are getting as 1 minute 20 seconds. That means there is an issue, right? So QA will intervene there, and QA will check that why those issues are arising. Is there any quality problem there? Is there anything wrong? Like, what wrong is happening that the issue is rising? So this means root cause of issues. So always when any new product planning happens, right from the beginning, quality should be a forefront of everybody's mind, be it the formulation scientist, QA, or anybody. Quality should be in the forefront of everybody's mind. So when you start development of a new drug, you need to have a product plan. That is very important. And who helps in this product design, process? It is the QA. Whenever any product, design and the process is designed, the QA has to verify it and approve it. okay, that this particular designing of the product that the scientist has done will give you a product of a good quality. Okay, so that way the QA expert will verify it and approve it. So during this also, each and every step should be documented. Like at even 10 years later, if somebody, if there is an audit happening or there is any, inspection happening, and somebody comes and questions saying that, 10 years back, this particular batch was taken, where are the records? You should be able to extract the records and, present it before the auditor saying that, see, 10 years back, this particular batch was taken, and here are the records. These are the details of the batch. So these are all the duties of a QA expert, I would say. So also we should keep in mind that once process design is completed, we spoke about process design, right? How QA verifies it. Once that is completed, the process design is done. QA will also monitor the creation of prototype. So now when I say creation of prototype, it means basically like, for example, a batch, like, is kept, it should be stable. A batch which is produced, it should be stable to all environmental conditions. So we should, the QA expert will also take part in understanding like if there are any environmental conditions that will actually affect the stability of a drug product. If so, what are those environmental conditions? For example, will light, is the drug product photo stable or not? What if, the drug product is exposed to light and it undergoes degradation, or it is exposed to a very high temperature? Is it stable or not? All this also, analysis of all this is done, and there also QA will be taking a very active involvement in all this. So sometimes, this subcontracting also that happens. Okay, so when I say subcontracting, that is if any part of drug creation process is subcontracted out. When I say subcontracted out is you do it through a third party or something of that sort, like not within the company, you're like contracting it from another company. Then QA will need to assess the facilities of that subcontractor. Okay, so because whether the facility of the third party is suitable for the development of drug product or not, or the manufacturing of the drug product or not. If the what if a drug is manufactured there, then will the drug product that is manufactured be of desired quality? Will it be of good quality or not? So the QA expert will have to go there also and carry out an inspection, and then provide documents saying that yes, see, we are subcontracting it, but the facility of the contractor seems to be or the facility seems to be good enough, and we will be able to produce drug product of the desired quality. So all this is what come. And again, wait, let me go to the next slide, you'll understand it better. Okay, so quality assurance involvement in different stages of drug product life cycle. So sometimes you also think that there is a quality assurance team only at manufacturing, or there is a quality assurance team only at R&D. No, even in quality assurance, you have various opportunities. Okay, so you can be a quality assurance expert at R&D, or you can be a QA expert in corporate QA. Okay, so if this corporate QA also, which is not heard of. So many of the students, what they do is they will either opt for R&D QA, or QA at the manufacturing facility. So this corporate is something called as corporate QA, and then there is QA at clinical R&D. Okay, so that is when you actually take, you've taken um, even if you have taken pharmacology as your specialization in your M.Pharm, you can still get into clinical QA, because there they usually prefer postgrads with specialization in pharmacology. if you are looking for QA opportunity in R&D or manufacturing or corporate, then you need to have an MPharm either in pharmaceutics or, if you have in pharmaceutics or pharmaceutical QA, it's always good. If you have in pharmaceutics, obviously your, career opportunity becomes very wide, because you can, if you do in pharmaceutics, you can go into formulation development, you can go into regulatory affairs, you can go into QA, any of those. So if you do in pharmaceutical QA, if you have a MPharm in QA, then you can opt for, a job in R&D, manufacturing facility, or corporate QA. Okay, now what are the roles, like how it differs, like how different it is at R&D, corporate, clinical R&D, and manufacturing facilities, what we will look into. Okay, because many a times what happens is, there are many people who say that I don't want to work in a manufacturing facility, that is not what I want, because they think working in an R&D is superior. People who work in R&D think that, okay, corporate QA is better. So it's like there are different ways of looking at it. Okay, so let me tell you what the roles and the responsibilities are of a QA professional in each of this. Okay, so first I will start explaining to you what a QA professional does at R&D. Okay, so in R&D, mainly, when we enter into any company, the main thing is knowing all the SOPs. So you will spend almost a month or 2 months only reading the standard operating procedures. So that is the first thing that we will have to do. Even if you are a fresher, or you are, even if you are in, you're having 10 years of experience or 15 years of experience, it doesn't really matter. The first usually 15 days to 1 month, different companies have different timelines. So you will mostly spend reading only the standard operating procedures of that particular company. And who actually reviews the standard operating procedures? It is the QA expert. Like at R&D, you have the formulation development team, then you have a QA team, then you have HR, then you have the the team which actually takes care of environment. It's called the EHS team, the environment health safety team. Then you have the technical services, or the tech transfer, team which does the technology transfer. You have that. Then you have the analytical team, or the quality control team. So you have all these teams, and each and every department will have their SOPs. Okay, and the SOPs of all, it's like, for example, only the formulation department will have about 100 SOPs. And who will review these SOPs? The review and approval of these SOP always comes to the QA department. Until the QA department reviews and approves the SOP cannot be it cannot, it will not go ahead. Like the SOP will not become official until the QA expert actually reviews and approves it. So it is always the head of QA who approves it, and there will be a QA professional, who's an executive, senior executive, can be a team leader, or anybody who actually reviews this particular SOP. So always keep in mind that first thing is, this is actually common for even if you are a QA professional at R&D, be it manufacturing facility, or any clinical R&D or corporate. Always all the department SOPs will come to you only, to QA team only, for review and approval. Then second is your QA department SOPs. They themselves have to prepare, and approval also is done by the QA head itself. Then preparation of department standard operating procedures, which I just explained. Review and approve the master formula records, bill of materials. So master formula records, as you know, if the manufacturing or the execution of the batch has to take place, there has to be a master formula record which gives detail of everything, that is each and every step of the manufacturing process or the development. So from the R&D, it goes to the manufacturing facility. So approval of this particular MFR and BOM is done by the QA professional at the R&D. Then to review and approve the batch manufacturing protocol, like if there is any pilot batch or any batch exhibit batch which is actually taking place at the plant, then the batch manufacturing protocol comes to the R&D, and then the QA expert will actually review it. And when it is taken place at the plant, there will be a QA personnel from the plant also who will be checking. But later this particular document comes to the R&D, and then the R&D QA professional will actually check if everything is okay, if everything has been documented properly or not. And only after the QA person or QA professional approves it, it will go ahead. Okay. To maintain a control documentation system. Control documentation system means any paper like which has like confidential matter, or you can say anything that is documented, or any logbook, or any particular paperwork, I would say, any paperwork from any department will always last come to QA. End of the year, it has to be submitted to QA, and QA has to make a note of it, saying that these documents have come from the FD department, HR department, EHS department, QC department, or the technical services department, and the QA will maintain a record. And if any time any of the department need their books, then only QA has the right to approve and say, okay, you can take this, but you have to return to me in 1 day. Okay, so all this maintaining a control documentation system, and also taking care that, see, these documents are very important. Sometimes you can randomly just send it through mail to anybody. So for that, we should make sure that there is a control documentation system, which means that the documents do not get distributed to any department by anybody. That is why after the approval of any document, the QA does not give the document back to the respective department. Like if I get any document from the formulation department for approval, I will approve it, but after approving it, I will not give it back to the formulation department, because they can actually, if somebody asks for the document, they can mail it. Maybe, somebody from the corporate might ask, or somebody from the clinical might ask, or somebody from, the global team might ask. No, the right to actually distribute any recorded document, okay, or any official document, only the QA team will have this right. Okay, and there will be a particular format for distribution. You cannot simply distribute any, okay, the one person from the other side, or say from the global team is asking for a document, he's an important person, so I will just mail him the document. No, it doesn't happen that way. The QA team, any person from the QA team has to first write down saying that, okay, this particular is SOP I'm signing, and this is the way I am distributing, and this particular document I'm sending to this person from this particular site for this reason. Okay, so every small thing should be recorded, and this is not responsibility of any other department. The document can be of the other department, but distribution only the QA team will do. So this is meant by control documentation system. So this I'm basically talking about what the role and responsibilities are of a QA professional at a R&D. Currently, I'm just focusing on R&D. Okay. So now I'll say that to review and approve all documents related to product development, such as stability protocols, stability reports, packaging protocols, packaging reports, and any other miscellaneous protocols and reports. Now, when I say this, at R&D, a particular batch, for example, one batch is developed. Now you want to put that batch into stability. Okay, stability study, you all know that we will keep the drug product at the different we will keep the drug product at different conditions of temperature and humidity, and then we will keep it for, like, say, at accelerated for 6 months, at long term condition for 24 months or 36 months or whatever, and we will take out the drug product at different time intervals to analyze it, and to see whether the drug is stable or not throughout shelf life. So when the formulation development scientist decides to load a particular batch of drug product, for stability, there is a particular protocol and report that he has to prepare. And that protocol will have details of the conditions of the conditions to which the drug product will be exposed, the time, whether it is for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, etc. And it will have various, like are you keeping it in upright position, inverted position. It will have certain details, so he is supposed to fill and write each and every detail. And he will then have to take it to the QA team, and the QA professional will actually review it. And if there is any modification to be made, he will request the FD scientist to actually go ahead with the modification. And then he will approve it, and only then the drug product goes can be loaded into stability. So same for the packaging protocol. What is the packaging material that is used for the drug product? Because at R&D, basically, what you are doing is you are testing your drug product with the various packaging materials. So you might want to keep yours in aluminum pack. Alu pack is what we call. In case of tablets, you might want to keep it in this one with just a plastic and aluminum cap. So there are various kinds of packaging materials. Or in case of eye drops, you might want to keep it in an LDPE container and an HDPE container. So there are various studies that we carry out, right? So in this case, also the packaging protocols and what is the packaging material that is used, or any packaging material is changed, why it is changed, justification for the change, everything should be noted in this protocol and report and given to the QA team for approval. The next is to approve transfer of raw material, including API. Between raw material means it includes everything. Okay, it can be the excipients also, and including the active pharmaceutical ingredient between R&D and manufacturing side. So, for example, if you need, say a particular excipient, for example, if I need, maltose or sucrose or any of the excipient for development of my drug product. Well, but it is not available at R&D, but it is available in any manufacturing unit. So I want to, for example, if every company will have, 2, 3 manufacturing units, right? So I will say, okay, fine. My company is here in Bangalore, but, the manufacturing unit is in Chennai. So what I will do is I want to, in my record, or, in my SAP, it shows that, sucrose is available in the Chennai facility in a big quantity. So I will want to get, sucrose, say 10 kgs of sucrose from the Chennai facility of the company to my R&D. So what I will do is I will raise a request. There's a form. Okay. So I will raise a request and all that. And this is the FD person will do. Okay. So they will raise a request, everything, and, saying that, okay, I'm getting 10 kgs of sucrose and all. But he will come with the form to the QA person. And the QA person will ask, okay, why you need sucrose? For development of which particular product you need sucrose? Okay. So you don't have any sucrose left here at R&D. Do you have any quantity remaining? What is the batch number? And what is the batch number of the sucrose that is available at Chennai facility? Have you seen that? And is it complying with the pharmacopoeia? And all those details the QA person has to actually ask the FD person, and after he gets answers to all his questions, he will approve that particular form and say, okay, you can go ahead with the transfer of sucrose from Chennai facility to Bangalore facility. Okay, so like this, they can be various, not just facility between I'm from R&D also, you can send to manufacturing facility. There are various, any kind of transfer. Okay, so they will manage. The QA team always has to be aware of this. Any form cannot go ahead for transfer of materials without the approval of QA. To review and approve the development of specifications. Now, see, if you decide to get into R&D QA, again, there is a division. There will be 3 or 4 teams. One team will manage only development part. One team will manage only the analytical part. And one team will manage only the QMS, that is quality management part. Okay. So now the points till now, which I explained, that is to approve stability protocols, to approval of transfer of materials, or maintaining a control documentation system, or I even talked about, one second. Yeah. So I even talked about this, right? Approval of MFRs, BOM, laboratory notebooks, BMP. All this, no, a person from the document development team will do. Okay. So, like I said, companies where I worked in, the QA department was further categorized. There will be 5 people in the development team. They will take care of all these activities. Then there will be 3 or 4 person in the analytical development team. What they will do is they will see, the person from development team will actually interact only with the FD scientist, and review and approve mostly only documents that come from FD department. Okay, formulation development department. Then there will be an analytical R&D. So the person who is actually the analytical QA team will deal with the analytical department. That's a quality control basically. But there's no quality control at R&D. It is AR&D, what you call analytical R&D. Okay, those who deal with all this development of specifications, analytical procedures. So once if FD person develops a drug product, he will give it to, or during the development, he will give the product to the analytical team to actually, for analysis of the physical and the chemical parameters, right? So what happens is the analytical QA team will take care of all the activities that are taking place at the analytical R&D. Okay. Then to review and approve validation protocols, validation reports, all this is done by the analytical QA team. Then I said there is a team called QMS, right? Quality Management System. So what they will do is they will prepare gap assessment reports. Now, what is gap assessment report is sometimes they will be like, global policies and all, okay? And you will always have internal SOPs. Like each site will have SOP. R&D will have their own SOP. The Chennai site will have, Mumbai site will have one SOP. For, the company might be same, but there will be internal SOPs. Then again, if the company is a global company, say for example, the headquarters is based in France, for example, okay, so they will have global policies. So whenever any global policy is out, you should make sure that your internal SOP is, in line with the global policy, or if there are any changes to be made. Okay, if there are any gaps, that is what we say. Like, okay, global policy says this should be like this, but yours is different. That means there is a gap and we need to modify our procedure also. So this basically means that gap assessment. And if we need to do or not need to do also, we should justify. If global policy says 1:1 is this, so we need to assess and say, okay, we don't need to keep 1:1 is equal to so much. We can just like, like say, keep it as it is, because it is suitable for our site. So everything has to be justified. If you're copying it as it is in the global policy, you should justify that why you are doing it like that. And if you're not doing it as per global policy also, you need to justify why you're not doing it that way. Okay, so justification needs to be given. So all this, the QMS team will do, prepare gap assessment reports, to review and approve change control. Change control basically means if any changes are done during any of the stages, or it can be even simple change of, if I'll give you an example. If you decided that a procedure has to be in a particular way, okay, and then it is decided that this particular step will be changed, or this particular is make it different, not as per SOP, then you have to raise a change control, saying that FD scientists will say, okay, I'm raising a change control. I'm changing this in this particular process, or I'm changing this in this particular, procedure. Then that change control has to be reviewed and approved by the QA team. Okay, the QA team does not agree with the FD scientist. They can always say, no, I'm not going to approve the change control because I feel this particular change that you're making can have an impact on the quality of the drug product. So I'm not going to approve it. Okay, unless there's a strong justification given by the FD team that it will not have any impact. And also the QA team has to assess whether the change that is made will have an impact on the quality of the drug product or not. To investigate deviations, To investigate deviation means deviation, like I said, if there is any particular change that have happened, it can be an accident basically. Okay, so somebody is manufacturing a drug product and suddenly there is some accident, something different happens. Okay, why it happened differently? Okay, what went wrong? Okay, that is investigation of deviation. What went wrong? That something different happened there. Why it went wrong is what the QA team will analyze. Okay, so say for example, you are manufacturing, a drug product. Dissolution happens to be different. Okay, the dissolution what is expected is not got. Dissolution is different. Okay, why did it happen differently? Okay, so this particular and change control also, I can give you another example is if you're carrying out, your batch development, you have a punching machine, right? So if you, you have already manufactured 100 tablets and the rest of the tablets you are actually going to change the machine, then you have to raise a change control saying that why you are going to change the machine, why you're not going to continue with the same punching machine. So that is an example. To review and approve the corrective and preventive actions. When something goes wrong, when a deviation happens, then that deviation you should take care that it does not happen in future. That is the responsibility of a QA team. Okay, so that the same issue does not arise in future. Also, mistake happens once, but mistake should not happen 100 times, right? And what can we do to prevent mistakes from happening? So you have to take a corrective action. So corrective and a preventive action is taken to conduct internal audits. Now, when I say audits, it can be any kind of audits. Okay. So now when I say audit is not only related to one particular department. Okay. Audit should be of all the departments, and audits have to happen at the particular time interval as per mentioned in the SOP of the company. So if the SOP of the company says that you should have quarterly audits, then it is very important that you have quarterly audits. And audit happens of the HR department. You make sure that the policies of the company are very employee friendly. Then EHS department takes care of the environment, health, safety. So you need to check that the water and all that which is coming, whether the HS department will check whether the water is potable or not, suitable or not. So, of all, a QA will conduct inspection of all the departments, okay, including the internal department. They will carry out of the QA department, HR department, EHS department, FD department, analytical department, TS department, all the departments. So it will be a plan. So almost 15 days before audit, they have to prepare a proper structure of the audit that is going to happen and how it is going to happen. And a short notice will be sent. It can be a surprise audit also, but mostly a short notice is sent to the respective department saying that keep all your records ready, and there is going to be an audit. Okay, and then to prepare quality review reports. When I say quality review report, it means that once the audit has taken place, there are certain observations, right? So when you actually, see, okay, at the FT, for example, you're carrying out an audit of a formulation department, then I will check the logbook and I will say, oh, something is wrong in this particular step, something is not noted, or a calibration is not done on 2 days. Okay, so calibration have certain equipments have to be done every day, and one Thursday and Friday it has not been done. So I will check if that Thursday and Friday was a public holiday. No, the Thursday and Friday it was not a public holiday. Then why the calibration of the equipment, since even if it was a working day, why the calibration has not been done on those days is what I will check. Okay, as a QA professional, I will check all that and then I will write it down saying that this is the observation, this particular logbook, this number, calibration not done on 2 days, the reason. So then we will question the make a report, quality review report, and then when time comes we will share the observations with the respective department, and I will tell the FD department, see these particular logbooks, it was a working day, 2 days were working, it was not even a public holiday, then why was it was not a weekend, why was the calibration not done? That way we will carry out the investigation. Then to help maintain compliance with federal, state, local and organizational laws, regulations, guidelines and policies. So here basically, the QA professional should be well versed with all the regulations, and the QA team, basically the QMS team, the quality management team, should be very, like all the guidelines and regulations should be at the tip of their tongue, and they should always make sure that at every step, the every step for the process or the procedure that is being followed or that is being developed is compliant with the current regulations and the guidelines and the policies. Okay. Okay, so I'll go before going to clinical R&D till here. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me, huh, rather than asking at the end, towards the end of the session. If you have anything in between, you can just like probably interrupt and even ask me. Any questions? Hello?
Yes, students, please, if you have any questions, put it in chat box if you don't want to unmute yourself. I think we
Has
can.
anybody sent? I'm not able to see any chat. So has anybody? No, right?
No, no, ma'am. We can go ahead.
We can go ahead, right? No, but anything that you didn't understand, just let me know, huh? If there's anything silly, also just ask, because when we are in actually, when we are studying, we have the silliest of the doubts, and sometimes what happens is we become a little hesitant to actually ask questions because we think it might be too silly to ask, but those might not actually be silly. That is the thing. So any question?
So Amruta says the session covered all the topics which was needed. So I guess she
Sorry.
has. Amruta says the session covered all the topics which were needed.
No, I still have more. I have spoken only about the R&D part. I have only spoken on what a QA professional will do at the R&D part. So I will now talk about what
Yeah.
a QA professional will do at the clinical R&D.
Yeah. So that only she meant that you have covered whatever was required in that subtopic till now.
Yeah. That subtopic I have covered. So in case there you have anything more to ask, I just meant like you can ask. Nothing, right? So I'll go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
So now coming to the roles and responsibilities of a QA professional at clinical R&D. So like I said, if there is always a clinical, now see, every company will not have a clinical department. Mostly the clinical studies are outsourced. Okay, so there are big companies like IPR and all, obviously, which was I think previously known by some other name. I can't really remember, but I think Parexel and IKEA, and there are a lot of other companies which are actually into this, clinical studies. So what big companies will do is they will outsource their clinical studies from these third parties. Okay, so these clinical companies, also the companies which actually carry out the clinical studies, they will also have a QA team. Okay, because when the clinical study happens at every step, there also it is important to assure that it is happening properly, right, and everything is compliant with the regulations. So now you can look at it from that aspect. And if you have an MPharm in pharmacology, then it becomes even easier and better to actually get an understanding of a clinical R&D. So those in pharmacology can even opt for this particular, can actually opt for, a career in clinical R&D. So here the roles and responsibilities include to ensure that all procedures making contributions to the performance of a clinical study are performed appropriately. Okay. So the same way, like in R&D, what happens, they make sure that the development is happening properly. Here, during the clinical study, they make sure that each and every procedure that is, every procedure that is being followed in the clinical study is performed properly. So when I say clinical study, what exactly clinical QA? What exactly does it has? Basically, it is clinical trial specific audits. Okay, so audit of a study protocol. It means if there is a trial protocol, then audit of all those trial protocols. They have certain, like, I don't have too much about this because I haven't worked in clinical R&D, but there are certain documents like CRF, IP, and all of that. So, all these trial protocols have to be verified by a QA expert at clinical R&D. Then there are audits at trial sites. That is when the collection of the data happens, like, the clinical data and all that happens. Then the audits are carried out by this particular team at the audit trial sites. Then audit of trial database, when the pooling of all the data happens, because see, only when a clinical study happens only when a new drug product is developed. In case of generics, we don't need to have clinical studies. It's mostly only the bioequivalent studies that happen. You don't have to carry out the clinical studies. But yes, when a new drug product is developed, clinical study is like the very important part. In fact, there have been certain there have been certain cases actually where a certain like there has been a US company which was actually manufacturing, I think, a thalidomide or something, and then they had an inspection. So the FDA inspector, she actually refused to approve because she had certain doubts about the clinical data, and she said, okay, fine, you have to stop manufacture of thalidomide immediately because I have certain concerns about the quality of the drug product. And I also need more data. You haven't provided me with the sufficient clinical study reports. So I need more clinical study reports from, your end. Like, this is what FDA inspector tells the company, saying that I need more, clinical study reports from your end, and also I have a doubt about the quality of the product. So that way, you get an understanding how clinical studies and how quality and all of this plays a very important role, because anytime the manufacturing of the drug product can be stopped if your drug product is not of the desired quality. Okay, so I was saying audit of the trial database, where all the pooling of the data, clinical data and all happens in the database. The analysis, so there are just graphs and tables and statistics and all of that. Then there's data management. Clinical study nowadays, these companies like IPA, they have such wide opportunities. They have, QA, they have data management, they have, like, a team only for analyzing the statistics and the graphs and the tables and all this. So they have a QA team who does only all this. Then there's a QA team which carries out only audit of the trial reports. So basically, it revolves all around audits. So the clinical R&D will work, the work that is involved is mainly carrying out audits of reports, audits of analysis, audits of database, and everything. So see here, as you can see, to troubleshoot critical trials activities, to manage and maintain data source for the quality system, to prepare quality trending reports, to review quality activities, incidents and deviations are the same. Incident is something was wrong. Why did it happen? Why did this incident occur? What went wrong, during the clinical studies? To prepare clinical trial reports for submission. So for submission to regulatory authorities, obviously clinical study report is of utmost important when a new drug product is developed. As regulatory authority, like say the US FDA or MHRA, they will first ask for the clinical trial reports. Okay, when you start, when you want to, file your drug product. So all this, is very important. So these are the roles and responsibilities of a clinical R&D expert. So now I'll talk about the roles and responsibilities of corporate quality management professionals. So at the head, the head office also, they will always have a QA team. So the role and responsibility of a QA professional at a corporate or the head office will be slightly different from the roles and responsibilities of a QA team at the R&D or the manufacturing facility or the clinical QA. Okay, so here what they will do is vendor evaluation. So when you, for example, for all the raw materials, APIs, and everything, you have vendors, right? So you need to deal with the vendors, and you need to see if the vendor can actually provide you or supply you with the right material. Is the vendor actually ready to provide you all the documents like the TSC, BSC, all these documents? And how is the manufacturing facility of the vendor? Is it GMP approved facility? And all this vendor evaluation will be done by the corporate QA team, okay, to evaluate the quality system of the suppliers and subcontractors during the pre-evaluation phase. So if I'm the QA team and if I say, okay, my particular API will come from Merck, okay, and I'm working for a company X, and I say, okay, I outsource the excipients from Merck, but is the facility of Merck where the manufacturing of excipient happening a GMP approved? How is their facility? Are they ready to give me all the documents that come with the excipients? Because without the documents, whenever any excipient is procured or API is procured, you should make sure that you have the COA, you have the TSC, BSC, all these certificates. Okay. So this is one role, and to implement the necessary training programs to train all the employees on the quality system issues. So timely, it is a responsibility of the corporate QA team to actually conduct training programs from time to time for all the employees. Okay, to see to it that all the employees are well versed with the quality management system. Like all the employees, especially the QA teams at the various sites, be it the manufacturing unit or the R&D, they are well versed with all the guidelines, the regulations, and whenever anything is updated, any regulation or anything is updated, or there is anything new that comes into the GMP, everything, there'll be training programs that will be conducted. It can be like virtual, mostly virtual training that happens. And the corporate QA team ensures that every employee who should know about this is involved in the training. So sometimes at the end of the training, they will even provide you with the certificate saying that this person has been qualified for so and so. Like, this person has been qualified, for like, for example, final release of the batch product. Okay, that anybody cannot do the final release. So you have to be qualified, that you have to undergo certain training. So the company conducts time to time training, and these trainings are actually organized by the corporate QA team to propose preventive measures and implement improvement programs. Okay, so to implement, if any improvement has to be made in the quality management, then what is that improvement? It is, they come up with like new ideas saying that, okay, if we implement this particular thing, then we will have a better quality management system or a more effective quality management system for the company. So let's implement this particular, and they will make the changes in the SOP. Trainings will be provided. So, this is one role. And to design and prepare the corporate policies or the quality system. So certain corporate policies are also prepared by them, and then it is circulated to the other sites and the facilities. To coordinate with the project manager during the project execution phase. So whenever any project execution happens or anything, then the corporate QA team will be involved with the project manager. As you know, every company has a project management team also. So the corporate QA team will constantly be in touch with the project manager or the project management team, and they will both work in collaboration or in coordination with each other. Okay, to plan and assess project audit results. Like they will mostly deal with a lot of global audits, and also assess project audit results. Like after the audit, what the results of the audit, or what are the observations, and what are the changes that need to be made based on the observation. If something is of some particular negative observation is made, then how can we improve it? What kind of a training can provide so that this particular observation does not come back to us in future when audits are are carried out again. Say, for example, FDA audit happens, and FDA inspector will give 4 or 5 observations saying that this particular thing is not, not compliant with the regulation, or this particular observation is, needs improvement. So then, they will sit and analyze all that. They will assess it and say, okay, what can be done to improve, this particular point. Because again, after 1 or 2 years or 3 years, when the FDA inspector comes back for observation, he or she should not give the same observation. That means the company has not done anything to make an improvement. Okay, then the FDA inspector can say that, okay, 2 years back when I came for an audit, I had given the same observation. I said that, this particular thing, or, for example, even talking about the facility, I might just say that, okay, there are cracks. As an FDA inspector, I might say, see, there are too many cracks on this particular wall. And from these cracks, insects and rodents can come, which can have an impact on quality of your product, because the product is being manufactured in this particular room. And the wall itself is having cracks, which means that dust, or, insects or rodents or anything can come through those cracks. So as an FDA inspector, I will give this observation to the QA team. So the QA team has to do something about it, right? The wall has to be fixed, or, it has to be, cement has to be put there, and, the wall has to be painted so that, it gets better, and, there is no impact on the quality of the product. What if nothing is done? What if the QA team does nothing about it, and the cracks are left as such, and after next year again, the FDA inspector comes. Say I come again as an FDA inspector, and I say, okay, last year I gave the same observation. I said there are cracks on the wall, but you never got it repaired, you know. So all this is like very important to understand, as a QA professional. What measures have to be taken to improve the system? Okay, like, even this is a very realistic example which I actually gave you about the cracks on the wall, because many a times in the manufacturing facility we do see cracks on the wall, and the FDA inspectors, they do see all these minute things, and they give observations on this also. So because, right, if there are cracks, it can have impact on the quality. So all these are like basic things that we should understand. Roles and responsibilities of a QA professional. I think I'm done with this, right? Then did I just? Oh, okay. I did. I finished this clinical R&D, right? So
Yes,
responsibility of
ma'am.
QA. Yeah. So I'll come to roles and responsibilities of QA professional at a manufacturing facility. Okay. So now we talk about the QA team at the manufacturing facility. So one is to ensure proper warehousing of incoming components, containers, closures, labels, etc. So when I say ensure proper warehousing for incoming components, which means that every API, or every excipient, or every packaging material, container, closures, whatever comes into the facility, it has to be properly labeled with the storage condition. For example, if my API has to be kept in refrigerator at 2 to 8, then it has to be properly labeled saying that this particular API, for example, API X, has to be stored at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. The lot number, everything should be mentioned. It should be labeled, and then it has to be stored in the refrigerator. If storage condition is room temperature, then a proper label has to be there on the API saying that this particular API has to be kept at room temperature at 25 degrees centigrade, not exceeding 40% RH, and it has to be stored that way. So the QA team should always ensure, and the date of expiry has to be mentioned always on each and every label. It is very important to have date of expiry. So as a QA professional, when I go for a self inspection, that is inspection in the own company, I will go there and I will check in the manufacturing facility. For example, I'm an expert in the QA team of the manufacturing facility. I will go there to the production house, and I will just check, okay, fine, this particular API was bought in 2017, expiry was 2020, why is it still kept here? Why didn't it go for destruction? Okay, oh, this particular API has to be kept in 2 to 8, who kept it outside? Why is it kept outside? Because if it's kept outside, it can degrade, right? That is why the storage condition is mentioned as 2 to 8 degrees. So that way, all these small observations a QA expert only has to do. When you're in a QA team, it is very important that you go to the manufacturing site, or the even the lab, every now and then, and you keep checking if everything is fine. Because see, if the expired product is not discarded, or the expired excipient is not sent for destruction, somebody might not read the label and simply use that particular excipient or API, right? So how can you use expired materials for your drug product? So all these checks, then the blame obviously comes directly on the QA team, saying that why the QA team did not have a check, why was the inspection not carried out, why was the monthly check or the weekly checks not done. So that way it is important. And to review the manufacturing process and in-process checks. So when I say manufacturing process and in-process checks, it means that whenever any batch is being manufactured, any batch of a drug product, say it is starts manufacturing, that time right from the beginning to the end of the manufacturing, a QA person should be present there along with the production manager. Okay, even during addition of ingredients, when the pH is being checked, when the disintegration is carried out, dissolution is carried out, it is very important that a QA person might rotate in shift, morning shift, afternoon shift. So there are different people. So even if the entire procedure process of manufacturing takes 24 hours, the 24 hours, one QA person should be present at all times. One works for 8 hours, the second person comes, and the first person should actually explain where and how and what the observations are, and from there the second person carries out. Because manufacturing happens in shifts, right? One person cannot work for 28 or 48 hours. So that way it is important that a QA person should make a note, because whenever a production manager says, okay, I've added this chemical, I added 10 grams of this particular chemical, and he will sign, there should be a cross signature of a QA person. If there is no cross signature of a QA person, anytime the document will not be considered as approved by a QA person. It's not valid, because why QA person was not present there during manufacturing is a question which will arise. To monitor the process controls. So when I say process controls, it can be any kind of controls that take place during the manufacturing. It can be the in process checks, like here I can tell you there is an IPQA team. IPQA team is in process QA team. That is, every time any in process check happens, or in process checks, for example, DT is checked, dissolution is checked, pH is checked, physical appearance is checked, color is checked, anything, a QA person has to be there to see whether everything is as per the document or not. Okay, nothing, no, nothing can be different from the document. Okay, everything should be as it is written in the document during the manufacturing process, to ensure final release or rejection of every batch of the product. Okay. So after the complete manufacturing happens, then the QA team will again see the entire document, and then only he will say, okay, everything is okay, everything is within limit, and everything has happened correctly. So this batch can be released. If something has gone wrong, then there is always, the QA person will have a right to reject the product with the proper justification as to why the batch is being rejected. Then to ensure stability testing and evaluation shelf life product. So whenever any batch manufacturing happens, that batch will be loaded into stability. So the QA team has to make sure that the batch is loaded into stability, and time to time the batches are taken out for evaluation of its physical and the chemical parameters. And if this process has been done throughout the shelf life of the product or not, say the shelf life is 24 months, then should make sure that in 24 months the analysis has been done at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and the way it is mentioned in the protocol. Here to ensure warehousing of finished products. So once your batch is manufactured, it is very important to actually store these particular batches in a proper condition. So warehousing of the finished product means every batch should have a proper label with the batch number. Okay, this is the lot number, the name of the product, the lot number, the date of manufacture, date of expiry, everything should be clearly mentioned on the label. Okay, to review any change controls. This is a common, I would say, responsibility of a QA professional in every, whether you get into R&D QA, manufacturing QA, or clinical QA, or corporate QA. Change control is any change, okay? Any changes which are made, whether it has an impact on the quality or not, those change controls always come to the QA department to monitor out of specification. Here it means, for example, if there is anything that goes out of specification, if I'm manufacturing of an eye drop is happening, and I'm checking the papers saying that okay, the pH limit is 6.4 to 7.4, and I see that after addition of the ingredient by the production personnel, the pH is come to 6. Okay, but the limit is 6.4 to 7.4. Then I will check that why is it deviating. Okay, why is the pH not between 6.4 to 7.4 when that is the limit? Okay, or say for example, usually it is plus or minus zero point 0.5 or something, or 6.4 to 6.6. For share, when it comes to stability, it will be 6.4 to 7.4, usually a pH of 1. So why is it deviating? Why is it out of specification? My specification says 6.4 to 7.4. And why is this pH come to 6? What went wrong? You know, so that will be considered as a deviation. And out of specification, deviation because it is out of specification. Then to conduct internal audits to ensure compliance with good manufacturing practices and quality review reports. So a QA team at the manufacturing facility will also carry out internal audits, and they will also be host to global audits. Like when FDA audits, MHRA audits, and all these global audits happen, and the QA team is the one who will actually interact with the, these FDA or, any inspectors from the regulatory agency, and they will handle them and produce all the documents that is required by the, or all the documents that are actually requested by the inspectors, okay, or the regulatory bodies. So, and time to time, they will conduct internal audits also. Okay. So sometimes, we think that working in a manufacturing facility is not a very, it's not a great job, or, there's not much to do. But no, actually, the one who actually works the most is a QA professional who actually works at a manufacturing facility. Because during manufacturing, nothing can go wrong, or, because that is like the final stage. You're back manufacturing like big lots of the products, thousands and lakhs of tablets. So obviously, if something goes wrong, the entire lot, 1 lakh tablet, 10 lakh tablets have to be discarded, which can actually turn out to be a huge loss for the company. So that way, the QA professional has to be very, very, very vigilant when working in the manufacturing facility. So basically, I'll just give you a summary. If you actually decide to have a career in quality assurance, scientific qualifications are imperative and lay a strong foundation for successful career in quality assurance, like the qualifications which I've already mentioned. Clear knowledge and practice in present norms and rules are important for sharpening one's skills and grabbing a QA job. So when you need to update yourself, and you need to, be well versed with all the guidelines, be it the ICH guidelines or any of the guidelines published by the regulatory bodies, and the good manufacturing processes, the good laboratory practices, good clinical practices, good distribution practices, or be it the ISO quality standards. You have to be very well versed versed with all these regulations. Like, if somebody asks you which is the ICH guideline for quality management, you should be immediately able to say, okay, Q10. Or which is the guideline for stability testing, you should say, okay, Q1A, Q1B. Okay, pharmaceutical development, it is Q8. What is good manufacturing practices, what all does it involve? Or what all are the key factors of good manufacturing practices? Or anybody can, you should be like, able to answer everything. You should be very well versed. Basically, you need to keep updating yourself. Okay, you need to be very well versed with all the regulations and the guidelines if you decide to be working in the QA team. It is applicable, it is applicable even if you decide to work in other areas, say formulation development or regulatory. You need to be well versed. But a QA person, is expected to be a little more, well versed with these regulations, because mostly it is the QA person who deals with the inspectors when all these global audits happen. Okay, then you need to have very good communication skills. See, basically, you will be you have a lot of talking to do with the cross functional teams. When I say cross functional team, it means you have a lot of talking to do with the various departments. Okay, and you should always have you also need to have a very good command, because what happens is, an FD person might produce a document in front of you and say that, okay, this needs to be approved. Now you feel something is not right, but that might be right as per the FD person, but you feel it is not right. So you should have that command, and you should have that communication skill to explain to the FD scientist why you think that it is not correct. What he has noted in the document is not correct, and why. So you should be able to explain. For that, you need to have really good communication skills, which I think you need to develop right from your graduation, post graduation, because that will really help you in communicating with the cross functional teams, and having a command, and being more confident when you say something. So it is very much required. You need to have good knowledge in pharmaceutical development. So you need to know some good knowledge about formulation development if you decide to work in QA. Because QA, basically, when you get all the documents, it is all about development, process, procedures, and all of that. So for that, you need to know how development of a drug product happens. Okay, you should need to have at least a clear idea about the steps which are involved in the development of a drug product and the manufacturing of a drug product. Because without that, you will not be able to review any of the or even understand any of the documents that will come to you for review. So this is it. So this is just for short. This is what I can actually give you, a short picture that I can actually give you maybe in an hour's time. That is it. So now, if you have any questions, you can just put forth your questions, and yeah.
So, ma'am, I have one question. So,
Yeah.
you have worked globally, you have worked at Brazil. So, how students can find such opportunities? What are the skills they should develop in respect to taking their career global?
See, the rules, regulations, GMP, everything is, the same worldwide, right? Like, see, the ICH guidelines, it is the same. Everybody, you be it in India, or you be in India, or you be in US, or you be in Brazil, it is the same. It doesn't change. Okay. Like I said, you need to know all these guidelines and all that. It needs to be at the tip of your tongue. Okay. So when you're giving interviews there, you cannot really hesitate and say that, no, I don't know this, or I don't know what the US FDA guidelines say, or I don't know what the MHRA says, because sometimes, see, now you have the US FDA, right? And MHRA, sometimes some regulations will be different. Okay. So you need to know all this. And certain countries, depends on which country you want to go. If you go to English speaking countries, then it is good for you, because we Indians are very fluent when it comes to speaking English. But if you decide to go to Brazil, you decide to go to Germany, or you decide to go to some other country where English is not the first language, then it's very important for you to know their local language. Like for me in Brazil, I had to learn all the technical terms in Portuguese, because Portuguese is their language, right? I mean, everybody in the company speaks Portuguese. It is a lot of Latin American countries or even Mexico, they don't speak English at workplace, or most of the documents are not in English, except I think Australia, UK, India, and US. Even if you go to Germany, it is not. It might be in Dutch, and it is the same. So even in Portugal, it will be in Portuguese. In Spanish speaking countries, it will be in Spanish. So if you have the determination to learn other languages, see, we Indians can learn any language because we are like a multilingual country. I can speak like 4 Indian languages. So when you can speak 4 Indian languages, you can definitely learn one more foreign language, right? So obviously it depends. Like for since there are many students from undergraduates, and postgrads, I would say that they can even go there and pursue a degree. So I started off my career here. They can even do a 1 year course in Canada, a 1 year course in, there are like a lot of scholarships. There are a lot of universities which are offering scholarships, and, a 1 year course and all that. That would help them, get a job there. Probably, it'll be easier for them to get a job there. Plus, it will add, the certificate that they get will add more value to their CV. So that way it does help depending on what one wants to do. The determination is very important. I think, yeah.
Agreed, completely agreed. Any students question? Any questions, students? Sorry, there was a slip of tongue. Any questions? You can put it in the chat box or unmute yourself.
So how many